Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Nurturing the Free Flow of Feminine Creative Power interview series. I'm Salma Morningstar, and I have with me here Meri, and she and I have had some lovely experiences collaborating. Some of you may remember that, was it last summer for the solstice?
Yes, summer solstice 2017.
Yes, we did a igniting, wasn't it igniting the womb with the midnight sun or something?
Yes, yes.
Because you live in Sweden, or is that where you are now?
Yes, so I live in Sweden, but I live right at the border with Finland. And this ceremony we did while I was in Finland, where I'm from, actually. So
in your meditation chrysalis, didn't you call it that?
right.
So
Yes, yes.
it's this beautiful little building, small little meditation building in the woods in Finland, and we met and did a solstice ceremony at the time when it was the midnight sun for her. So the sun was still up at midnight, and so it was just a beautiful. We got to see the midnight sun. For those of us who are not living somewhere where the midnight sun shines, that was a beautiful experience for me, and for everyone else that joined us. It was lovely. And we did some sound healing, some vocal sounding ceremonial magic there with the midnight sun. And that is Meri's specialty and a passion of mine as well. A big part of my work is working with the breath and the voice, and our vocal vibrations, the connection between the womb and the throat and our voice. You know, we have two mouths, we have two necks, we have two cervixes, right? And so
yes.
Working with the voice, this voice helps us to hear and open up our womb voice. And so we played with that. It was lovely. And so I was delighted when Meri said that she would come and join us here to talk about feminine creative power. And so, Meri, would you tell us a little bit more about what you do and what your personal experience is with the liberating feminine creative power?
Yes, thank you, Selma. Actually, also, wow, just when you were talking about that experience, igniting the womb with the midnight sun, then my womb immediately like, wow, remembered that sun, because now we're in the dark times, right? We have a bit of sun, but the days are very short. So that was really beautiful. And also this meditation chrysalis is actually in a place I call the mother forest, because my mom actually owns a bit of forest, and the meditation chrysalis is right there. So it has this kind of maternal roots type of connection for me also, this place. So those are very important things for sure. And so what do I do? Yeah, I'm an artist. I do, especially before, I've done body-based performance art. So very, very physical performances. And now I'm more and more working with the voice. The voice has been there always since I was a child. And it's just always been kind of the strongest thing. So I also do channeling through a voice. And basically the music that I create, I create in this way that I don't write notes. I can write notes if I would love to, if I would wish to, but I don't. And I think that's actually one of the ways how this feminine essence for me flows, for example. even having like a long background with studying music and playing in a Western classical way. I played also the flute and the piano. But then through all this processing of like finding my own voice, I realized like one of the things that I want to create music is that I just start singing and I record it layer by layer by layer. And I don't even have to know what the notes are. It's always possible to write it into notes, but that's irrelevant for me. And even from one day to the next, I might choose just a little different tone to start with, or so that's also like living fabric type of making music, is that I just tune in and I let the voice come through. And that was also one of the things, actually, when you were asking me also how I have liberated myself, I kind of come back also the times of being a student, when, for example, music was taught in this, for me, actually quite masculine way. Here you have the notes, and then you're gonna learn to do it, this way, like authoritarian type of learning. And I just I knew I love music, I want to do music, but I just couldn't study it. And I journeyed kind of through the body, really, to discover the freedom. So when I was a student, I studied actually in the Netherlands, in Rotterdam, where I also could study world music. So I had Indian music and Brazilian music as a side subject, and it was very interesting in lots of ways. But yeah, I just still the whole world of traditionally how music is taught for me is very masculine. So the best things happened with the dancers. I had a couple of master choreography students, and I started just going into their classes. They welcomed me, and even though I was not a dancer, it was experimental enough for me to be able to join without like a ballet technique or something like that. And that, again, for me was a feminine way of doing dance. It's not that you have to be able to lift your leg to a certain, angle or whatever. It's really coming from within. And that kind of started the process for me, that first I stopped studying music. I found an education that was actually interfaculty between Arts Academy and a music academy. It doesn't really exist anymore, but at that time I found that little gap. I found my little rabbit hole, and so even still, I knew that music is my strongest thing. I started doing this body-based performance art pieces to really root into my own being, and then sing from that, not from, kind of construct of how this and that should be like, but just, so my technique is very free and is very intuitive, and I'm still loving exploring the voice, like how far I can go with it, just opening up further and further. And so that's something to share.
So I have some questions about that. So when you found this sort of blend between the art academy and the music academy, did you have other students studying that way with you, or was this your own unique blend?
There were other students, but it was very free study. So anything visual could go with anything, any kind of sound. So the others were not so much into voice or so much into body. And actually, even though I found this place and I had my diploma from there, I was considerably happy to study there. I had 16 male professors, all male. So actually, it started also the process of me being able to just tap into my creativity. But it took me like until the last year when I actually did an exchange in Japan. So I had all this now kind of freedom and kind of the new type of world of not having to think so like in music, you know, like in a kind of a square way, but I still had 16 male professors. So to tap into my feminine flow,
Mm-hmm.
oh my God, it was just, you know, it was not so easy. So another thing is like I went to Japan as an exchange student, and there I had this space, my own cocoon or womb space, sort of to, okay, so now I have all this freedom, now I have all this knowledge, now I have all these different aspects. So what do I want to do? And then I actually created my first body-based performance art piece called In the Flesh I Reside. So I really went into the body like very strongly to ground this creativity for me. And
Mm-hmm.
I've done those performance pieces for about 10 years, and I kind of left the performance art world in a way, but it kind of comes back to me now, the visual side of performing and the physicality of performing, which is an interesting thing. Like it, yeah, it's living with me all the time. And now that we're talking about these themes, I really realize it's so important also for me to have this tangible connection to things. So there is this feminine flow, that is this intuition, that is this, you know, okay, I sing without notes, I just let it flow, I let it flow, I let it flow. But there is something also to still to ground that and to feel really good in your body. There is this physical part, this physical piece of being present in your body, being comfortable in your own skin. And I can kind of call those 10 years of doing those body-based performance art pieces kind of as a kind of my PhD, or I don't know, university, whatever. It's like a study in itself, though I did it on my own. And so from here,
I have a question about that. It sounds like allowing yourself to explore that and really doing your own thing with that was transformational for you in certain ways. Like you keep talking about, you know, connecting with yourself, grounding your creativity, and doing this performance art. Is there something that about that experience that you can distill out of the performance art context and share with us about what about it was so transformational to you? I hear about, you know, connecting with the body, using sound, but I would love for you to elaborate on that more, because it sounds to me like there's some universal practices that I mean, I can relate to what you're saying, even though I am not a performance artist, and I have similar experiences through other body-centered processes. And so I wonder if you can reflect for us on that, what aspects of this, you know, body-centered performance artwork would you say are the keys to that sense of connection to yourself, and you know, how did you know that you were really making such a big change for yourself? What experiences, you know, physical experiences or emotional experiences, changes did you notice in your everyday life that you attribute to this body-centered performance art practice? You know, did it change your personal relationships, for example? Did it change how you felt about life, about, you know, did it change your emotional tone? You know, how did it nourish you?
I think it's been a kind of way to explore the kind of also the painful aspects of being human. Mm-hmm. So I was addressing these kinds of things of how really, well, also about women, because I'm a woman, and if I make a solo performance, it will be a female performance. So when I'm my own material, it always has to do with a woman. So I play a lot with the kind of different ways to look at the woman. So there's always a transformation through the performance happening. So there are moments when I'm presenting a very composed, a strong figure, and through transformations, this figure kind of dissolves and becomes like vulnerable, and there's often also bare skin, and the sense of beauty is challenged also through the kind of just showing these different aspects of being human in the body. And I thought, for me, that was very freeing experience. I guess it made me kind of feel that, well, okay, one day I might feel that way and I might look that way. So wonderful. But maybe another day I might look completely different. At least in my life, I'm not, I am very someone who feels very strongly about things, and so sometimes I love to be this composed, really taking care of my outer appearance, and oftentimes not, and just there's a lot about this embracing the variety of being who you are. Mm-hmm. Accepting the different sides of who you are. So you don't always have to be that perfect composed person. You can be that dissolved, unclear person, and you can be one whole person, mm-hmm. nonetheless. So,
wow. So it sounds like you're that this context of artistic performance gave you permission to explore and express a greater variety of emotions, feelings, experiences, appearances than you might have had in your day-to-day life, but that through those 10 years of exploring, probably in art, we're always sort of pushing the edge. What new can I do now? What aspect can I explore now and fully develop? In that stretching and developing process in your art, then that gave you permission. Oh, wow. I can imagine you, and I would love to hear about experiences of you discovering an aspect of yourself in your artistry, in your performing, that then translated to you saying, oh, maybe this is something that's going on for me in my life that I have more permission for now, or more capacity to experience, or more freedom with.
Then, yeah, for sure. There has been always a specific theme with each performance, and actually it's interesting to kind of look back also. And it has also a lot to do actually with the feminine power, allowing myself also to be powerful and to be sometimes very strong woman, even though I would not support this whole idea of having to look a certain way to be, I don't do my nails, this is not my thing, but still still to be like a powerful, beautiful woman. And well, but that's maybe not the most relevant for now, or it could be, but there's just the last piece that I've done is called Domestrix, and it's I was after having my child, I stayed at home also with a little baby for a while, and it was kind of like a lot of staying home and a lot of like vacuum cleaning and all of that stuff, which is fine. But it was just like I made this kind of a bit is a bit humorous piece also, where I really like reclaim my, you know, feminine power with this vacuum cleaner. I had this big black hose, and I kind of like do stuff with the pipe, and well, just yeah, I don't know. Just embracing those different aspects, and when I show them to people, they also kind of get a kind of release in themselves, like, okay, ooh, yeah, I recognize something in this crazy lady here. But in the context of how what we're talking about now, it's actually kind of curious to me, like how, if not doing performance art, it's actually it can be challenging to translate that to sort of normal life. And as we're talking about this, I'm kind of like realizing it for myself. It's like, okay, so how to do that? How to do that? I think there are bits and pieces that are alive in me because of all these explorations.
Mm-hmm.
So that I might not care so much of what people think of me doing something, but yet there are it's totally different when you have a specific focus. I guess you could kind of compare that to like making a ritual for something specific, you know.
That's what I was thinking, is that, you know, ceremony and ritual can be very similar and
Yes.
transformative, and it also sort of bridges the gap oftentimes between, you know, artistic expression that has all this freedom, and then life where, you know, even though you've had that experience of doing those performance art pieces, and maybe sense that you could go there and you don't care what people think because you have been in front of people doing all kinds of crazy things, you might limit that doing crazy things, that even if you felt like it in ordinary life, because it's not a performance.
Yes.
Right? You're not doing a performance with a certain purpose. Whereas, you know, ceremony or ritual, I mean, in the performance, you would practice it by yourself before you performed it, but the whole purpose would be to perform it in front of people. Whereas a ceremony or ritual, you may do all kinds of ceremonies and rituals just for yourself or with your loved ones, that were simply for your own transformation, your own nourishment. And so that seems to bridge the gap, because we might do things in ceremonies or rituals that are for us, that are outside of the normal norms of how we behave in everyday life. And we create safe spaces in ritual or ceremony, just like the performance space. The stage is a safe space for the artist to go completely wild, right? Because we all have that agreement that the artist is going to get up there and do something, you know, that's totally out of the ordinary, and for entertainment and for inspiration and possibly transformation of everyone involved. And then ceremony is a similar space where but it's less, some of them in public, you know, public ceremonies can be very performance like, but many people, and I know, you know, we did our own ceremony, just me and you, and a few people that came and participated online, where, you know, the focus is less on the performance and more on the inner experience and bridging that gap. And then it was also about, how can we apply, how do those inner experiences then become applied into nurturing and nourishing growth and liberation in our day-to-day lives. So it's bridging the gap, it seems.
Yeah, I would love to comment on what I'm also realizing, because I tend to forget it myself, is that as an artist, I felt like I had the freedom to go, you know, from something like totally crazy and into something funny, into something very touching, into something very spiritual, and I think that's actually one of the things that I would love to have more of, when doing this sort of like ritualistic healing work. It depends a bit where you go with what you do, but I think that there's something just really so liberating that all of that can exist. That I also, even myself, I tend to get sometimes like too serious or solemn, and there is a place for that, absolutely. But like in to embrace those crazy sides also, to through spiritual work, to get to express all of that. And I think this is that's a very good reminder for myself right now, where I'm in my life, actually, to have that, to embrace the contrast, and to find ways to express them. And
yes, me too. I that's where my ceremonial practice keeps moving in that direction more and more, that it's a safe space for me to feel and express all of the forbidden or lost things that our full wildness as women has a place to be expressed and nurtured in that way. And then that sort of seeps into every other aspect of our lives, where we have more permission to feel everything that's going on. So if I never have permission to feel totally silly, for example, and then then that's a part of me that's sort of dormant, or held back and unexpressed. And if I bring that into a ceremony, like a deliberate choice to say, you know what, I'm going to have a laughing yoga session, or so it's inspiring to me. I've done that practice before, not recently, but having a silly practice, or having a ceremony that's about that kind of freedom of emotional expression, and allows for all different movement and expression, then opens up more space for us in the rest of our lives.
Yes.
For full expression. Because we have to, we practice, we have to nurture that and let it out of the box that we keep it in, right? Let it out of the cage sometimes, so it can stretch its wings,
Yeah, absolutely. And to really let the whole body breathe and exist, and that has a lot to do for me with self-love. Is that when we just embrace even the more complex feeling sides of ourselves, that's really like self-love, no matter what. For me, that's such a huge key. And it's not so easy sometimes, but there's something so powerful about this, embracing all that we are.
And allowing all that we are.
Yes. And well, one more thing I just wanted to, about this feminine flow, I've also felt more and more that it's connected to the body, but also to the nature. So I feel also called more and more to really, really connect with nature. And it's winter here, so it's kind of different. There's a lot of snow, and you can't quite touch the ground. But then, well, you have like starry sky, or in different ways. You just so I think that's also somehow more of the feminine side of existence for me, this connection with the nature, and how that can support and nurture us so strongly, also with the self-love aspect. And with the whole thing, like in nature, everything happens. It's not just, there's a lot of beauty, but there's a lot of weird stuff going on. So it's like this complexity of life and bleeding and just birthing and just existing. And that it's also very powerful, and where I feel like my journey has been moving towards more and more, from this body-based performance artist to more also site-specific works with amazing places in nature, and that sort of connection. So
yeah, that's one thing I really loved about that midnight sun ceremony we did, that we were embracing and interacting with this powerful natural phenomenon, and you know, where the sun is actually up for the longest of anywhere on the planet, you know, on the solstice, and just really celebrating that and participating in that. Well, good. So I know that you had wanted to share that you have a free gift for us, and that you maybe wanted to share a little bit of a sample of some of your vocal work. So I wanted to open the space for that, to talk about your free gift and any little sampling you wanted to do to close the session today. It's time to wrap things up, although I could talk with you and sing with you all afternoon.
yes. So I have been creating something I call the Goddess Invocations recently, and I would love to offer invocation for Saraswati to everybody. So included there is actually, with my voice I tune in with the goddess energies. So in this case, Saraswati, and let her sing through my voice her blessings, her frequencies, her essence. And also I have channeled a written message through me and my Irindira essence. This is my star being self. Have also asked some questions from Saraswati, and I have her answers written down. So I would love to offer that. I felt, actually, I've been listening to the Saraswati blessing or invocation myself for some time now. It feels there's such gentleness with Saraswati as well. So it's this kind of creativity without no forcing, and it's so pure. Her essence for me is very sweet, very beautiful, and so I do these vocal blessings with a written message. Also, was one trace of my work, which I really love doing. I actually started it only this year, 2017, to really start doing this individually to people, channel messages for their questions, and also then to channel this vocal blessing to give them clarity and to give them this heightened sense of their core essence. And normally I do this with a long delay to layer the voice, but I would just want to leave you all with a short sample of a vocal blessing, just to send you all my love. So, So breathing in that blessing from my heart and soul and womb to your heart and soul and womb. Let it bless you, empower you, inspire you to express your feminine essence, your creative flow in any way, shape, or form that feels true to you. And so be it. Blessed be, blessed be, blessed be.
And so it is. Thank you. Very blessed. All right. Well, thank you all. Thank you, Meri, and thank everyone for joining us. And we'll just close it out with that. Until next time.
Thank you, Sama. We'll be in touch.
Yes.